We're gearing up for our summer 2023 session, which is going to screen on July 16th at the beautiful historic Clint Street Theater. And today I'm talking with one of our participating filmmakers, Paul Rabinowitz, is the writer behind the films Confessional and The Lines in Between. You've got two great films in the festival. Paul, thank you so much for talking with me today.
Thank you, Zami. I appreciate you having me.
So let's jump right in. These films are interesting. They're distinct. They have their own style, their own rhythm, their own pace. What inspired you to make these films?
So, first of all, my interest is in experimental short films. That is the genre that I've been working with for a few years now.
Okay.
I am primarily a writer, Zami, and that is what I do. In The Lines in Between, which is a slightly longer, 12 minutes long, the process there was Georgia Usborne, who I've worked with on numerous films. She's a New York City choreographer and dancer, and also a director. She and I worked together with four of my poems that are the essence of The Lines in Between. And those four poems really, she interpreted them and was inspired by them for her movement and choreography. But they really are all joined in together about a person, a writer, who is dealing with writer's block and how that person needs to delve into sort of the bizarre, the quirky, the surreal worlds in order to come out on the other end of her writer's block. So these four poems that are the essence of that film make up that storyline for Georgia. Okay. Georgia is also a dancer primarily, so her choreography moves throughout this short film, and we always feel that dance is best with my poetry and writing.
Cool. And then, so with Confessional, what was that one like? What inspired you for that?
Yeah, it's a completely different kind of filmmaking process. And again, Zami, the most important thing for myself and the crews that I work with, this was a different crew. The Lines in Between. I worked with three different crews. Here we have Matilda Mackey, who is the director and also the choreographer. We have two actresses, and the music is done by Amit Viner, who I've worked with on three other projects, two with Georgia. And he is an incredible composer. He does musical scores for films as well as TV. And the way we work this one is first came this idea of a film noir, which would be based on a very, very short poem that I wrote called Confessional, which is only one line. So it's not easy to create an entire 5.5-minute film on one line. So what we did is Matilda created the choreography, the acting, directed the two other characters, pulled it through on a 5-minute film with that short poem in mind. Amit did the score for the film, and then it was given back to me. And now I spent about 3 months musing over the choreography, the film, and the music, and I put together the script, which would be narration, which will ride over the film and is brilliantly by Kathleen Cremens. So that was a different process altogether. Again, experimental films means working different ways.
Totally.
Lines in Between starts with the poems, but this one started with the movement and the score, and then the story line wrote over it.
Oh, that's so interesting. Okay. Well, wow, that's incredible. I love that process. Let's jump back to Lines in Between. So for that one, you had your poems, and then Georgia, I believe you said, directed and choreographed that. What is that collaborative process like, though? Taking it from the written word and then passing it down to choreography, and what is that like?
So there's two different ways to work in these kinds of films, and these two films are completely different. The Lines in Between is more of giving the poems to Georgia. She actually, I have just written a book of poetry. It's being published by Finishing Line Press. It comes out in just a few weeks. And so she went through the body of work to choose four, really ride and inform the viewer on this writer's block story. Once she chose those 4 poems, she put them in order. And at that point, I said, Georgia, you, because I have worked with her before, amazing artist, one of my favorite artists working in New York City. And so I allowed her really to experiment with these 4 poems to pull them together and string them through the entire process of the film. She only touched base with me twice, once in the middle, actually once at the beginning to tell me what her idea was.
Okay.
She switched the narration from a male voice to a female's perspective. And then in the middle, she touched base with me to show me what how the direction was going, the actors that were working with it, the cinematographer. And then she shared with me the rough draft for my final opinion. And then we completed the film that way. The film took about 5.5 to 6 months, which was actually on track. We predicted about 6 months.
Okay, great.
Confessional, going back to your question, is a different process altogether, where here I was very much involved with the entire process from beginning to end. Matilda and I kind of came up with the concept of how we would portray this confession.
Okay.
We worked with it. We talked about it. We met numerous times in Brooklyn. She's from Brooklyn. I live out in New Jersey. So we met in Brooklyn. We talked about it. Then we hired a cinematographer that we have. And then we also hired the editor, worked directly with the cinematographer. Amit then came in and did the music. But as I say, this process, I was hands-on from beginning to end. And I never really let go of it. So although I am not the director, she is the director. She relied on me for my aesthetics to make sure that it was going the way that it should.
Okay, excellent. Well, I really love this. The experimental collaborative approach really is a testament to the strength of multiple creativities working together. I'm curious, did you learn anything from this process? It sounds like you've been making experimental shorts and focusing on that for a while. Did you get any new insights about the craft from these 2 projects?
So yes, and I think from lines in between, what I learned is once I give up my writing, my poetry, to make sure that you trust the people that are handling this film. I trust Georgia 100%, and in the end came out with this beautiful process and this beautiful film. But you have to have the confidence as a team member within this collaborative process to make sure, or I should say, to stand back and let it happen. That is not easy. And as you know, a lot of directors, producers, even script writers are sort of saying, well, why are you choosing that person? Maybe we should do it that way. So I learned to step back. That is not easy. Confessional, though, what I learned is the opposite. And actually, confessional, probably to get to maybe your last question, I don't know, which would be to going from here. Confessional is actually leading us to our next 2 projects. This idea of having another art form start the project and then the other art forms come in after is really interesting to myself, to Amit Viner, and also to the other filmmakers that we're working with, Kathleen Kelly and Roy Allen. What we're doing in the next 2 films is actually Amit is starting the film. He's the composer. So he is taking the idea of my poem, which is more like a prose poem. It tells the story of a writer and news. But he's actually taking that and making music, creating the composition for that.
Oh, interesting.
Then the words come in. In other words, it's already been written, but then he'll bring in the words to his music. And then the cinematographer, collage, will then put in elements of the footage to go with the music and the words. So it's a completely opposite process. It's building with the cinematographer last, which is super interesting to us.
Yeah.
And then the last film we're working on, that Kathleen Kelly, is called Indigo and Half Moon. That'll be out at the end of 2023. And then along that same experimental line is our last film that we're working on for 2023, which is called Temporary Exhibit, which here Roy Allen, who's the cinematographer, is working with found footage. And it's a really bizarre group of found footage from like a 1950s art exhibit where headphones were first used.
Oh my gosh.
It's super bizarre, but this way we're starting with the poem first, and that is informing both the music and his the found footage that he's working with. So again, different processes for different films, but that's what we're into.
That's fascinating. I love this kind of structural approach to starting at different points and then filling in the rest of what considers a completed short film. This is very exciting. I would love to see more from you. And you said that you 2 weeks, I believe, you're publishing a book of poetry.
So the book of poetry, Truth, Love, and the Lines in Between, which is similar to the
Okay.
movie's name, The Lines in Between, 4 of the poems from the book end up in the film. Truth, Love, and the Lines in Between I wrote during the pandemic. And that was picked up last year by Finishing Line Press, which is a wonderful poetry publisher. That book will be out August 22nd. We're in pre-sale right now, and the book comes out August 22nd.
Excellent. Do you have any other written projects in the works right now?
I do. I just got another thumbs up from a publisher for
Oh, excellent.
a brand new creative non called Grand Street Revisited. That will be, well, that we're just signing the contract for. So that's going to take a little time for them to do the actual publication of the book, but it should be out probably in about 6 months. And then my latest book is called Confluence. Sorry, I went back to Confessional. Called Confluence. And that is just now being pitched to agents. So I am actually going directly to agents as opposed to a publisher. I think that I have what I need now to hopefully get picked up by a publisher. And the last thing I will say is that I've co-written a episodic TV, 8 episodes with Brittany Bertier. It's called Bungalow. And that now is in the hands of 2 Hollywood management companies. Unfortunately, there is a strike going on in Hollywood right now. So we're laying low, but we believe in that script. We wrote a pilot. They asked us to take the treatment and write a pilot, and that's now in their hands. So we hope that that'll have some play.
Excellent. You've got quite the year ahead of you. I love to hear all these projects. I'm very excited to see more from you. Is there anything else you'd like to add about your 2 projects in the festival?
We're looking forward to. My wife and I are flying out to lovely Portland, Oregon, where we actually love the West Coast, and we specifically have spent a lot of time in Oregon. And actually, we were at the film festival last year in the Dalles.
Okay, I feel like we met before. In fact,
we met when I came in. Now yes. I recognize.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. Yeah. What was your film for the Dalles Festival?
It was Little Gem Magnolia, and we won. And we won.
Well, that's very exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing you again and screening more of your excellent work on July 16th at the Oregon Short Film Festival. Thank you so much for talking with me, and I'll see you then.
Be well.
Bye.